Hey guys, we're back for another episode of the Popcorn Square. I believe this is episode number 24 in 2024. All right,
Heyo.
So we're going to be talking about Imaginary, right? That's a horror film if you guys are not familiar with that one that just came out recently. We're going to talk about some Kung Fu Panda, anybody that's fans of that in the animated world. We'll talk about the box office of both those films and our expectations. We'll see where they're at right now. We'll talk about the budgets, of course, and then we'll talk about this Roadhouse remake with Jake Gyllenhaal, and I think Conor McGregor's going to be in that too, making a little cameo. Yeah, this one is called March Along, so let's hop right into it. I have not seen Imaginary here. This is Neff. I don't think Kage has. Buttons, have you seen Imaginary? Anybody interested? I've heard it's decent. Not
I'll
too
watch
much
it on
about
stream.
it. Anybody got the box office or budget for that one? Because at least we can look into that. I know the trailer was interesting. It seems to be some teddy bear with some type of evil powers, but I don't know if the teddy bear is so much evil or if it's someone else pulling the strings, but I think it'd be something that I definitely watch on streaming when it releases.
Imaginary's got a budget of about 10 to 12 mil.
Wow.
And the box office is 20.8 mil.
Wow. So, guys, as we've talked about before, everybody out there listening, this is what you can do with horror films. You know, Imaginary, it's not probably going to make $100 million, but the fact that the budget is so low, it allows you to have a bigger box office and become a successful film with that small budget. For them to be at 2X already is, I'd say, a pretty good sign. I don't know what this movie is going to end at, but if the word of mouth is good regarding it, and we'll do some more research on that, I think this thing could do a 3X and a 4X. It's $4 million from doing a 3X. So, for the most part, I think this movie is going to be a success. And that's a horror movie that we got coming out in March. We're not even in the fall or anything like that. So I think that's actually really interesting. But like I said, it points to having that small budget and being able to really capitalize on that to actually have a solid box office. Good information there, Kage. Are you going to be interested in maybe watching this one on streaming in the future?
Imaginary? Yeah. I'll go and check it out. I've always been a fan of Lionsgate films. They tend to make decent stuff. They did all the Saw stuff, for example. They've done horror. Blumhouse. Both studios are very famous for doing a lot of horror, so I know much about them. So yeah, I'll go ahead and check it out. I did go back and watch some trailers. Some of it, I admittedly looked a little goofy, but I think it goes into, you got to go into it with the mindset. I think we talked about it like with Argyle with the bait and switch. Like, I went into it thinking it was going to be Ocean's 11 type humor, and it wasn't. It was based on a franchise that I had never seen, Kingsman. That said, for Imaginary, I'm going into it as educated as I can. Teddy bear, imaginary friend, I got the concepts. Okay, I'm open-minded now. So
Who doesn't love a scary teddy bear?
Like, I looked at it as, I'm gonna date myself. I was just like, Teddy Ruxpin gone wrong.
Whoa.
God. Or what about Snuggle?
Whoa.
Do you remember the spoof that they did with Terror Snuggle?
What?
Wow.
Oh my gosh, you guys, if you've not seen so everybody's probably, at least hopefully, familiar with the Snuggle commercials, where you have like the fluffy Snuggle bear,
Oh,
these
yeah.
downy, soft kind of stuff, but it snuggles, right?
Yeah.
And so back in, I think it was the 90s or maybe early 2000s, they came out with like this like spoof on the Snuggle commercials, but it's like Killer Snuggle there. So I get the feeling it's gonna be kind of a cross between that and like Chucky, maybe.
Okay. I from the trailers that I saw at Imaginary, I kind of got that vibe. Girl talks to bear. No one can hear, of course. No one sees, but then of course things go awry. The bear starts moving in front of people openly.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how they're gonna spin that. It's not a haunted bear. But
No,
it has
I
something
think
to do.
I think it was supposed to be like her imaginary friend, and then she stops playing with her imaginary friend, and then the imaginary friend gets mad.
But also
kind of
too,
thing.
it has
Turns his
something to
back.
do.
How dare you do such a thing? How dare
Right,
you
how
grow
dare you
up,
grow up?
Andy?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's like if Woody pulled out a Oh no, because
Dude.
Woody's
There's a
a
snake
Woody's a
in my boot.
cowboy.
No, it's on your
Man.
face.
Yeah, it's not a stick; it's
Are
a
we
6
talking?
shooter.
I think. Are we potentially talking about a rated R live action
Toy
Toy
Story.
Story? Whoa!
Kind of like,
but
what
it'll be.
was it, Winnie the Pooh and Blood or
Blood and
whatever?
Honey.
Blood and Honey.
Blood and
Yeah,
Honey
we're gonna-
2 this year.
We're, movie idea. Okay, if we let Sharknado exist and we let Argyle exist, surely I can pitch this. Here we go. What if?
I want to hear your pitch, dude.
Don't hate on my
So-
Argyle,
no,
okay?
no. Sorry, Boats. I'm so sorry. Me and Neff are looking at each other,
Buttons
shaking our
loved it.
heads. Yeah.
I can't.
Perhaps
we
if I was
laughed
in the
through
Kingsman,
whole
Got a
movie.
coworker
I
out
was in
there.
the
Whole
Kingsman,
movie,
yeah.
laughed through it.
No,
Oh, it was definitely funny.
Yes.
got a
too
coworker out
funny.
there. I'm not gonna name names. Who loves Argyle? That movie sucked, man. It's just for you. But anyway, no. So you know how we had Ready Player One that was famous because of all the Easter eggs, all the references from gaming to pop culture. It was in there. What if you did something like that? A rated R Toy Story movie where the toys you played with as a kid, you're grown up and they're in pawn shops or whatever, and they're mad because they hold a grudge. Hey,
Sounds like a Stephen King book.
It does sound like a Stephen
but
King
but the movie would be entertaining and it would do well because people would see movies that resonates with people.
Not
I
my
think.
Charizard.
Hey, if I'm willing to,
Power
if
World.
I am willing to put my
Power Rangers action figures.
okay, now you've gone too far, buddy. Okay, no, but like
Cross the line.
you crossed the line, and it was at that moment she realized she fucked up. But no, but like I don't know. I said Teddy Ruxpin. I'm like, that's near and dear to my heart. I remember Teddy Ruxpin telling me stories when I was a kid in the '80s.
That and your glowworm.
You know about the glowworm too?
Of course I know about the glowworm.
I had a glowworm. I remember that. Neff is like, man, these kids.
But and Buttons, you said what are you thinking about this one?
Imaginary.
I think you
won't-
stream this.
Yeah, I will stream it. It's not going to be one I see in theaters. If I'm going to see something in theaters besides Ghostbusters this month, it'll be Kung Fu Panda. And I've seen all the Kung Fu Pandas. I enjoy the kids' movies for sure. Kung Fu Panda has been one of those ones that, they're continuing to make them, and DreamWorks is getting into this bad habit. Just like with Illumination, they've like, hey, we made money off of these. Let's keep making them. And so you've got Kung Fu Panda 4. You're going to have Despicable Me 4. You're going to have,
yeah, good point. And
What
Despicable
made
Me
these
makes
so
a
great?
lot of money, so I
Well,
can see why they're
they
juicing it.
had-
But once again, like you said, how long are you going to keep juicing it?
Right. And like even the Shrek movies, which, when you look at, this is the same studio, obviously. This is DreamWorks. The Shrek movies had 4 plus 2 spin-offs with Puss in Boots. So, but with this, and I will say this about Kung Fu Panda 4, I enjoyed all the I enjoyed the other 3 Kung Fu Panda movies. But what we're seeing right now, and I looked this up because I was interested in the budget for Kung Fu Panda. I want to say they only spent about 85 million on the production of this Kung Fu Panda 4, which is actually less. It's about 25 to 35 million less than they spent on the previous Kung Fu Panda movies. So, what I'll say for that is they're looking and they're adjusting on what they're seeing trending in the movie theaters. They're like, we got to pull back a little bit because not as many people are going to the theaters and spending that money. So they're looking at pulling back their budgets a little bit so that they can offset when these movies go to streaming and things like that, and the money goes straight to that service versus people not going in theaters anymore and to see these. Now, that being said, it's already made over
We're at 176.5 million.
Yeah, so it's already made a ton of money.
I want to see it do
in just 2
300.
weeks.
I want to see it do 300.
Yeah, I feel like that's a reasonable.
Yeah, they kind of need that because 176 is not bad, but it came out March 8th, and like we said, that's only a week
2
ago,
weeks, yeah.
basically going on 2 weeks here.
Two-
But
two
I would like to
weekends
see them.
worth of-
Yeah, I'd like to see
yeah.
them get that 300 because we have Ghostbusters and then we have Godzilla
Right.
and King Kong. So
Well,
those are
fortunately-
going to kind of, and Dune as well is still making money as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of really competitive.
But it's the only really true kids movie
True.
out right now.
Yeah,
So-
it'd do its own thing.
Yeah, it'll and that's typically what we see when we're looking at, the kids films versus adult films. This is a good family friendly movie which you can bring the kids to and everybody can have a good time. Jack Black as Poe, he's great. It's a very funny character. The movie itself is very slapstick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's got all the great cartoon things that kids love, They're chasing around, and it's animal themed. So, you don't have to worry about a whole lot of the political stuff being thrown
Right.
into it. And so it's really a good time all around as far as the first three. I haven't seen this new one yet, but they've got a lot of the same cast members as far as the voice actors coming back, which is great.
Right.
It's always a little bit weird, when you have those vocal changes, just because you're expecting a character to sound a certain way, and then when you get somebody else in there, you're like,
You can kind
know.
of tell when they change things.
Yeah, and sometimes it's really noticeable, and sometimes it's not, depending on how prevalent the character is.
Right.
But as far as this, I know that, like I said, they're scaling back the budget, but I think that's going to help them in the long run, and it's going to help DreamWorks, the animation studio, as far as being able to continue to put out more work.
Exactly.
And not bankrupt their, because as we've already said, is like, hey, you can have a big production budget for these films and they don't perform, and then you're sitting on all this deficit, and not just that, but when you trying to get studios to continue to shell out money for new projects, and you're sitting there looking at like, well, hey, this movie didn't make any money, why should we give you more money on a movie that we don't think you're gonna do numbers on either? So Kung Fu Panda 4, I definitely think it's going to be, if you've got kids, and that's going to be the movie to go see for probably the next 2 months, because I think even in April there's not really going to be a large
Kid-friendly
pool of
stuff.
Yeah.
There might be something in there. When does that If movie come out? Imaginary Friend.
Oh,
Is that summer?
Now I think
Like, does that maybe
because that
May,
was the Roald
June?
Dahl one, right?
That's Ryan Reynolds is in that.
No, but I'm saying the story.
Could be.
I think it's the Roald Dahl, like the big.
But-
no, I know that was.
I'll let you look into that. We talked about Kung Fu Panda, $85 million budget at $176.5 million right now. We want to see that
May.
300. Nice. So Kung Fu Panda 3 had a budget of $145 million, which I think Buttons kind of touched on. We didn't have the exact number, and it did $521 million at the box office. So, we're looking at that 3.5x metric, and that's what they're going to use for this one. But also, like Buttons said, it's not too much competition as far as the kid-friendly stuff. And I've talked about this on the weekly, guys, how this is a really good a good film to help animation and voice work. You know what I mean? So I
That's a
think
good
that's I think that, the more successful this film is, like Button said, you can look at that and say, what do we do moving into the future as far as animation, voice stuff, and just things like that. But it's kind of hard to mess up the animated films now, especially when you implement like the animals with the voices.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of hard to mess that up because kids are going to eat that up every day. But yeah, really good for them. What do you guys think the end game is expectation for these as far as the box office? I think Imaginary, once again, it's going to cross that 3x mark. I think it might top out at 145. Maybe.
For
140, 145 for Imaginary.
yeah, I mean, Imaginary.
I can
don't
see it
even
topping
know-
out at 36.
I mean,
You think it gets 10 million in 2 months? No?
I don't
You
think
think
so.
maybe 32?
I feel like 30 is.
Yeah, 46 a little high. It's 20 more than they're at
Yeah.
now. That's
I'm
almost
gonna
like first
agree. I'm gonna
week.
agree
Yeah.
with Buttons on that.
Yeah, I mean,
What do you
because we're
think?
talking about a worldwide budget.
True.
I'm thinking 30 is where it's gonna
Teeter off.
land.
What do you think,
Yeah.
Kage?
Yeah,
For
about
Imaginary 30. How about Kung Fu Panda? I say 300.
Kung Fu Panda.
I feel like that's going to do better than Imaginary.
Oh, of course.
Oh, for sure. It's
gonna blow
it out
It's
of the water.
already done better than
Yeah.
Imaginary. I mean, it's over 100 million already. So, but as far as the numbers that we're seeing for it, I mean, and based off of box office, it really doesn't have any competitions. I mean, the next one that probably will come out isn't until like May, as far as a big production for kids or family friendly, and that was If, like you mentioned. So I feel like it could probably get up to 450. And I mean, again, that might be projecting a little high, but
You're
like I
looking
said,
at what's coming in the future.
Yeah,
that's
I'm
going to
looking-
compete with them in that market,
Exactly,
and it's not
exactly.
much.
Yeah, there's not really a whole lot that I'm seeing that's going to come out. And again, it also depends on how long theaters intend to leave it in theater, or
Yeah.
these studios intend to leave it in the
You
theaters
know, that kind of
before releasing it to streaming and
that
that.
kind of begs the question. Like how far are they going to let? And you can kind of say that about Dune. You could say that about any movie nowadays. I didn't realize you said it in a previous episode, Neff, when you talked about Beekeeper. Surprisingly, is still in theaters, and that right there is going to be a big factor in budget in terms of Kung Fu Panda, I believe, because that is a children's thing. That is a worldwide release. Children eat that up. The talking animals, and also too, Jack Black. I think Jack Black is Poe, as Ryan
Yes,
Reynolds
yes.
is Deadpool. You know what I mean? It's just the role was made for him, and so his humor is gonna just take that movie. It's gonna carry it. Skadoosh.
Right?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I remember.
What do you
yeah.
guys think about the budgets for both these films? So we had Imaginary with $10 million budget, and then we had Kung Fu Panda with $85 million. But how do you guys rate how they use that money compared to what they're making off these movies? You think they utilize that money in the right way?
Well, I think so. You're looking at bringing back, a lot of the same characters for Kung Fu Panda. Imaginary, I think that's a very healthy budget, the 10 million. So, I mean, especially for horror movies, because we've seen them do amazing things on very small budgets with horror movies. So, for something that's coming out of left field as like a new, potential franchise, maybe if this movie, gets enough of a following. I mean, we have not seen a lot of doll-related horror movies
Megan.
apart from Annabelle and Megan, right? But Megan, I doubt will get a sequel. Annabelle's run its course as far as sequels. It's not going to get another Annabelle movie, I don't think, unless it's part of the Conjuring universe.
Right.
Yeah, we got
So
one more Conjuring
Megan,
movie.
they're saying like speculating that there's going to be a sequel here titled Megan 2.0, scheduled for May 2025. And so crazy enough, Megan, $12 million budget, 181 million
Megan
at
did
box office,
really well.
and it's a January horror release.
Yeah, and
Wow.
well, Megan was one of those movies too that, there was a lot of tech in the character Megan, but for the rest of it, there wasn't really a whole lot of, special effects except for towards the end there when they're like destroying the lab and that. But, as far as this Imaginary film goes, I think that they could potentially build this one to a franchise if they could get, enough falling. And I don't know, because I've seen mixed reviews on the film itself.
Right.
So, it may or may not, but who knows? It might be the next Chucky. It might next.
Kage, how'd you feel about Megan?
I mean, I liked it. It wasn't a big blockbuster. I liked it because it was different. I think that's the best way I can describe it. Talking dolls and stuff, but it was like a homicidal doll because I kind of went into it with the mindset of Chucky,
Yeah.
but I'm like, wait, this is bigger and it's AI. So how smart is it gonna go? Because you
It's
got
adapted for today.
Right.
yeah, that's a fantastic way to put it because Chucky was just this little psychopath.
Possessed. It was a possessed doll.
thing, and that's how they got away with it. And it's a human personality versus an AI that can learn, and it doesn't get tired. It doesn't feel emotion. It whatever. It can just go for as long as its battery will allow. And it decided that, yeah, the little girl was her world, and I'm going to do whatever I can to protect her.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like it blows up very quickly, like how far she's willing to go to take care of Katie. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
but then if you remember at the end of Megan, they killed Megan,
But she's uploaded to the
but
cloud.
she's uploaded to the cloud. That's right.
Shit.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing,
think?
ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it shows the light blinking
Right.
on the
Yeah.
on the
So
device, and then it cuts to black, and it's
Brain
like
is
Yeah.
still intact.
Yeah.
Put it in a new body.
Her
we're
memory,
ready to
yep.
go.
Now, so Megan, for me, I enjoyed it. There was definitely some good scares in it, as far as, like the little jump scares that
Yeah.
people like. It wasn't terrifying, though. I
No.
mean, which is fine. It's more of a psychological thing because you're like, oh my gosh, creepy AI situation. So, I mean, the idea is not original, as far as what she is and how she works. I mean, we've seen other AI robot movies that become sentient and try and kill people. So, I mean, that in itself is not original. I will say it kind of reminds me a little bit too of The Good Son, because she ends up being like this, like you were saying, Kage, like this protector, but then like she's also evil, but she's hiding that she's evil, like with the things that she's doing. So you just kind of like, well, am I the crazy one, or is that doll doing evil, crazy things?
Right.
Like I'm losing my mind kind of situation. So I mean, and that way I say it's like a psychological thing.
That's fair. Yeah.
But I think that Megan, for me, it was not one of the, wasn't one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as what they did with it visually and with the budget that they had, it was a great movie as far as, the story and the visual effects and the stuff that they had for Megan. I mean, there's certainly something to be said about a robot with like the face is all jacked up and you can see the animatronics inside. Like there's something that's always freaked me out about that, going all the way back to like Terminator.
How did you feel about was it Bicentennial Man? What,
Bicentennial Man, yeah.
Was that Robin Williams?
Yeah, that was Robin Williams.
Okay, like did that freak you out as a kid?
No. I liked Bicentennial Man, actually.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I liked it too. That just popped in my head when you're talking about it because
Yeah.
I'm like, we've had plenty of movies where there's AI, retaliating against humanity. This wasn't so much about that. It was more of a localized, smaller story. AI is like, I'm the better caregiver, so I'm going to take care of Katie my way. Mom or auntie or whatever.
So
you're
it
not,
was like
you're
on
not
a
needed.
micro level? It
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah, it's like
macro
you're not
where it's
needed
Now we have to
anymore.
worry about 10 of these things, like
Right.
iRobot.
iRobot, right? Exactly. Like,
Oh, yeah,
stay
I forgot about that
inside.
one.
We're doing this for your
Yeah,
safety.
so it
We're
was
taking over.
It was kind of a similar story, but on a much smaller scale. It wasn't a big blockbuster. It was entertaining for what it was. If I'll even be fair and say if they ended it right here and it was a one and done story, I'd be fine with that. If
Yeah.
you want to make a sequel, gonna have to be very careful about how you go about it. Because I'm like, okay,
That's a good point.
What are you gonna?
Especially when you do 14X on
Yeah.
the first one.
Yeah.
It's hard to
I
keep
think,
doing 14X.
Yeah.
I think this is gonna be it.
And then people have digested the idea too, so they'll be like,
Yeah.
oh,
They're like,
you
oh,
know what I
there's
mean?
another
It could do
robot,
good.
yeah.
It could, but it's just gonna be tough to top that metric.
So I get the feeling that if they did do another like a 2.0 version, just like how she was going to introduce this doll. Like that was the premise, is like, hey, this is a prototype doll. I'm going to introduce this to toy makers or whatever, and then people are going to have one of these in every home for their kids to play with, because it's going to help them not only through play and imaginative play, but also psychologically, because they were like, oh, we can help you work out through your feelings and stuff like that. It was supposed to be as much a toy as a psychiatrist, basically. Like, because this doll was supposed to be like, oh, she's working through some shit, let's help her out. Like, I'm going to be like a friend, but also I'm going to help you.
Well,
work through your emotions and things like that, which again was a very altruistic, idea and premise behind what Megan was going to be. But obviously the technology, and she even put like blockers on her and stuff like that, to where it was like parental control kind of thing, where it was like, yeah, well, she tried to, but then of course, like, that's the horror behind it, is like,
Megan can override it.
yeah, I can override it, or I can circumvent
Stop
it in
listening,
such
turn
a way.
off.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, that's not in the best interest.
Wow.
She doesn't have to eat her vegetables.
And it
Not
gets-
tonight,
it gets
mother.
Next level, where she pulls a Terminator and she
Yeah.
covers her aunt's mouth and she starts talking in her voice.
Yeah.
It's like, go to bed, everything's fine. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Oh.
Like,
all
we're
right. I
just
was like,
out here
that's next.
talking, yeah.
I was like, that's next level evil. And then she goes back to her murderous stare. I'm just
Yeah.
like, I if you ended the story right there, I'd be fine. But if you're gonna do a second one, this is gonna be the
one
last
to
one
probably
after this.
leave it.
I'm checking
Yeah.
out.
Interesting. Roadhouse, thoughts on Roadhouse with Mr. Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yeah, so Roadhouse,
What do you got,
getting
buttons?
into that. Okay, so fun stuff. So I went back and watched the original Roadhouse, just so that I could have like a comparison to it. And so if you guys are going to want to watch Roadhouse before that, I think you can catch it on Netflix or Hulu. I can't remember which one I watched it off of, but it is available to stream should you be interested in watching the OG. Of course, the characters, I thought I needed to do a little bit of research on this, because I was sitting there when they announced Jake Gyllenhaal. I was like, isn't he a little old for that character? Because I was sitting there thinking about Patrick Swayze and the fact that, now, I mentioned this to Neff before. I was like, when Roadhouse was made, it was like at the height of Patrick Swayze's career. He had already done, what was it?
Dirty Dancing is what I was
yes,
thinking of.
Dirty Dancing is the one you were thinking
There's
of.
something with dancing and Patrick Swayze.
Okay,
They
so
go hand in hand.
Ghost,
Yeah.
there was no dancing in that.
yeah, so
There's pottery.
There was some pottery.
there was some pottery. Yes. They made a vase. It was beautiful. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I think it might have been a bowl, but either way.
Demi Moore, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
Demi Moore is the, yeah. But no, they had done, what was the Red Dawn? They had already done that. So he had already established himself as an actor, and even as a dancer. He was originally like well known for being a dancer. But when he did this movie, like I said, it was like at the height of his career as far as like the 80s goes. And you had Patrick Swayze and Sam Elliott, and both of those characters were very great choices for the actors. Now, they had some kind of, when you look at the cast of this, you like sit there and you go, okay, well, a lot of these actors I've seen in a lot of other movies during the same period, or just their careers in general. And you're like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. He was in those other movies too. So, I mean, as far as Sam Elliott was supposed to be, now I don't know how old he actually was when he was cast in this role, but he's supposed to be about like 44, 45 age range. Patrick Swayze was like 35. So there was supposed to be about 10 years difference between the two characters, because Patrick Swayze was like the protege kind of Sam Elliott's character. And they have them established as being like these rough, tough, all-American, red-blooded, alpha male types that can just go into any situation and, calm everybody down. Now, when you look at the physique of these characters, Sam Elliott, he's, known for Westerns mostly, but he's like this slight guy. The only thing tough about him is his mannerisms and his attitude. He is not a super muscular guy, but you could sit there and say, oh yeah, he can throw a punch. Like, he can hold his own in a bar fight. And that's what this movie is. It's a bar fight movie. Like, yeah, you got some people who are going to try and, cause a big scene, and they're going to get roughed up, and Sam Elliott's going to get, come in and as like a bouncer kind of, and just kind of like lay some people out on the floor. And that's believable, especially when you're talking about like these small town, because I can't remember where exactly it's supposed to be, like Iowa or something like that. Missouri, maybe. Missouri, yeah, it's supposed to be a small town in Missouri that he goes to. And so he gets recruited in this original Roadhouse. He gets recruited by like a small bar owner, Double Deuce, which is a joke within itself in the movie. They're like, yeah, Double Deuce, and so you go in there as his character, Patrick Swayze, and he's like, yep, I've got this chip on my shoulder. Like, he's like, I'm too cool. I got this chip on my shoulder, and I did some things. I've seen some things, and then he just conveniently manages to piss off the richest guy in town by hooking up with the only doctor, apparently, that you can find that lives in the town. Who I can't think of the actress's name, but it's just one of those things. Oh, I just happened to stumble across this conveniently. I just happened to stumble across this really attractive woman who also happens to be a doctor, who also happens to like me, and then she also happens to be the scorned lover of like the richest guy in town, who he's like, he always had a thing for her, and she was like, no, I don't like you because you're a dick. Right. So
even the opportunity,
so it's like all of these fun 80s tropes like rolled into this one movie, and it's got like a cult following because people, you're gonna watch this movie and you're gonna say, God, this is an awful movie.
All it's missing is Kevin Bacon.
But I mean, it's
he did
still
good in First Class, though. X-Men First Class, he did all right.
Yes. But the thing is, for all you can say when you're watching Roadhouse Cinema is it's gonna hit all the feels. It's gonna be like, you're gonna be like booing at the bad evil guy. You're gonna be like, you're an asshole, and then you're gonna have like the heart touching moment where it's like, he saved the old man from the burning building, and then you're gonna have the other scene where you're like, that's right, he needs to get his and kill everybody, and that's ultimately what this movie comes down to. Is it's just moves along at a pretty good pace, and the writing is awful. And for whatever reason, there's a blind guy that he knows that plays music, because in all these 80s movies, they have to have a band member and a band that plays live music. Mm-hmm. And so this is what it is. You're like, but it's a bar movie. It's that
was a good rundown on that button. It's really good. Kage, you have anything about that? Any thoughts on Roadhouse? Any people chiming in with you about Roadhouse? She mentioned something before we started talking about the podcast in general. You said a family member said they don't think it's going to be very good.
Yeah, I was talking with my mom, and I was talking about Roadhouse, and she was like, they're making another one? And I go, well, it's a reboot. She goes, well, they can't get Patrick Swayze. And he got very defensive, We talk about that. When you do adaptations about stuff that people are passionate about, they get pissed. And my mom was just like, oh, what are you doing? I can't believe it. I was like, Mom, calm down. It hasn't calmed down yet. The trailer actually doesn't look bad, so it could be good. Yeah, but I was like, Patrick Swayze's, no. He might have a cameo in it, maybe.
He's dead.
He's dead. There you go. See what I mean? That shows
cameo.
That shows you. Hey, if we can bring Tupac on stage with hologram,
I mean, they might have a they might have a picture.
Yeah,
Maybe there'll be
that's
like a
how
little
they'll
Easter
do
egg.
it. That's
Maybe
how
they'll have
they'll
like
do
a
it.
little
Yeah.
Easter egg.
But that just
Same
shows you
point,
that
though,
just
yeah.
shows you how closely I follow it. So shame on me. But like yeah, the original movie came out in '89. So might have to go back and check that out just to be fair.
And it says it's
to
going
have
to be a
good
Prime
comparison.
release. I don't know
Yeah,
if they're doing it
it's-
theater too, but it
No,
said
no,
Prime.
just
So
Prime.
that's interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. So no, I think to your point, Neff, you know, a lot of people will watch some of these movies, and when they try and reboot it, they're like, no, that character is that actor. And if you know if it's not that actor, then it's not that movie. You can't redo it. Now that being said, what I mentioned about, you know, having the protege and, you know, the teacher. So Sam Elliott's character was like in his 40s. Jake Gyllenhaal's in his 40s. So my theory might be, because this isn't going to be a direct reboot.
Beat by
It's not
beat.
going to be the exact same
Yeah.
story. It's going to be kind of a, you know, based on kind of situation. So it's not going to be the exact same story. From what I've seen in the previews, instead of having like this just background of being like these tough guys or whatever, Jake Gyllenhaal's character is supposed to be like a former MMA boxer. And so the main villain is also going to be like another MMA boxer. But I've seen some of the previews where it's like Jake Gyllenhaal's character, who's supposed to be Patrick Swayze's character, is actually got his own protege that he's trying to like teach how to box.
So they're kind of
So-
changing things around,
Yeah.
adapting it to just a kind of a new story, but the same cocoon.
Right, right. Yeah, it's going to have like the same shell, the same, you know, basic idea of, you know, he's going into a bar, but this is going to be in Florida and like the Miami Keys. And it's supposed to be like, it's Miami and everything is all, you know, Miami, like, you know. And the difference is like, oh, okay, the original had like this guy who owned the bar, right? And
Right.
he's like, hey, I need you to come in. And in the other version, it's like this woman who inherited a bar from her father or something like that. And she's like, help me, need help because there's lots of rough people in this part of Miami or whatever. So, or in the Florida Keys or something like that. So it's going to be a little bit of a twist in that sense. There's going to be some gender swapping and that kind of thing. I think just to kind of bring it forward to 2024. But all in all, and I don't know, maybe because they're like, hey, Florida's way more believable that there's still people willing to get into a big old bar fight and start, you know, some trouble.
I think it's
versus-
also a way to make it, because like you said, you know, a lot of those 80s tropes and a lot of those 80s tropes that we saw, not that there wasn't any films like this, but it's real, it's like set in kind of like Rambo, where it's like the small town and the blue collar,
That's
where this,
Footloose.
no, but I'm saying,
I'm just saying, no, Footloose is the same
Right,
thing.
right. So that's what I'm saying
Small
with that. So what I'm
town.
getting to is with
Yeah.
that, it's the same for this. So with this, to bring it into a new age, it needs to be more interesting. So if I put it in a small town, people are gonna be like, this is boring. If I bring it into Miami, now it's like, oh, the lights, the cars, like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
culture.
Dade County, like it's like just different now.
Right.
Whereas if they tried to use that same 80s idea with this new movie, the people would be like, I'm not watching this. You know, because that's just how
Yeah.
people are now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I think like you said, you know, them bringing it to Florida, they're gonna give it a little bit different vibes, some different feels. And again, I think, you know, they're doing the whole MMA thing because, you know, people just hitting each other randomly in a bar. They're like, no, it's going to be more interesting if he's a professional boxer. And I will say this is looking at some of the reviews that I've seen for this one is the guy that they got to play the bad guy. He actually is a professional
Talking about
MMA.
Conor
And
McGregor,
there
right?
it
Yeah.
is.
Like, so he's actually and I actually, my understanding is there's a really good dynamic between him and Jake. So, you know, it'll be.
Helps for the chemistry on
Yeah,
screen.
it'll help.
And Jake himself has been in these type of movies where he's having to
Yes.
do physical stuff and
Yes.
box or do MMA
Now,
style.
is he
type
Patrick
martial arts.
Swayze? No, he's
Right.
not Patrick Swayze. You know, He's always been kind
Get
of
him doing some pottery, and maybe he could be. I don't know.
No, he's. I think one of the things for me with him is like I can never get out of my head the fact that he did Bubble Boy and Donnie Darko. Like those
Wow.
are his characters for me. Like he plays like this kind of wiry, weird, like.
Did you ever see Nightcrawler?
That's the one where he's like the photographer. No, I don't think I've seen that one.
But it goes to what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, again, he picks these roles, and it's almost like Johnny Depp in that sense, where it's like even this you wouldn't expect Johnny Depp to play this character either.
Yeah.
Like he's not the build, he's not the macho man. He's the weird one lurking in the corner that you have to watch out for, kind of thing.
Did you see that movie where he's like a boxer?
No,
Jake Gyllenhaal?
Southpaw.
Yeah,
or something
that
like
one
that.
was like I think maybe that one would kind of shift your.
That was what I was gonna say is when I saw him do like the previews for Southpaw, I was like, that's why he's doing the boxing version of this, because it's very similar character. But even when I saw him do like, I thought him as Mysterio was like a really good, like as far as an action figure or action superhero role, I figured that was a really good one for him. And again, it led, he leaned into that character as being a little bit off, like mentally off maybe. And so it worked for him. It was a kind of an odd character. As far as within that Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I feel like Mr. Mysterio, I believe that was his
it's just
name,
Mysterio,
right?
yeah.
Oh, just Mysterio?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, that was a good role for him. And then, but like, for me, like with the action roles, he doesn't know, it's kind of hit or miss. Like he did Prince of Persia, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that was kind of unbelievable for him. Like, I was kind of like,
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
okay, maybe, right? But some of his other roles, to me, are more believable that he's done.
That makes sense.
Is it fair to say that Jake Gyllenhaal as an actor has range? Because you were talking about, I listened to you talking about all these movies, and I didn't even realize like how many Jake Gyllenhaal movies.
Yeah, I think he has range.
I have seen.
Yeah.
He's not. Shoot, what's the guy who played Commissioner Gordon on The Dark Knight?
I know you're talking about, but I can't think of his name.
Because we haven't seen Jake Gyllenhaal wear prosthetics and play. Colin Farrell was the Penguin, for
Right,
example.
right.
Like that's an example of range.
Oh,
really
he could
going
just be
out
someone
there and
else,
be
yeah.
somebody else.
Well, I mean, as far as, his range goes, I mean, he's got a pretty wide range.
Yeah, I say he's
you
got a
got
good range.
Brokeback Mountain with Heath Ledger.
Forgot
That
about
was
that.
Jarhead.
way out of left field.
Yeah. Fair point.
Yeah, Donnie Darko, Southpaw, Nightcrawler, like you said. He's done
Zodiac.
The Covenant was a good one. Yeah, Zodiac. Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, he's
Day After
solid.
Tomorrow, I think, was the first movie I've ever seen him in. I think.
Well, did you see Prince of Persia?
No, because I heard it was bad.
Okay. But
You're talking to a gamer. I like Prince of Persia, and then I found out about that.
Zodiac is older than Day After Tomorrow is the older. But yeah, I remember like I said, some of the first movies that I saw him in were the Bubble Boy and Donnie Darko.
Yep.
And
Those
of
are probably
course,
his early works.
yeah, that was some of his earliest stuff. But like you said, he was in Life too. Oh God, that movie was so fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you guys seen Life?
If it's the life that I'm thinking about,
In space?
no.
Okay. So
I'm
it's
thinking
like,
of the one with Martin Lawrence, and
No. So this,
it's a pretty good movie, but it is messed
I
up.
know what you're talking about, though.
wait, was he in Dune?
No.
Why did they throw him up though?
Seeing him as
I
ripped
put-
Paul
I put-
Atreides. Hey, wait a minute. Idea. Have
Probably
him
too
in-
old.
You think? Well, him playing grown-up Paul?
That makes sense. But then he don't look like Shyamalan. You want to make it look at least similar.
Okay, fair. Unless Shyamalan both.
But unless, like you said, we talked about this with Uncharted, though. Like, if you switch some of those people around, not so much that you completely take them out of the picture, but if you switch them around, they fit better characters better. Like you said, Mark Wahlberg could have been playing
Okay.
Drake, you know what I mean? So
Oh, that's a good point.
But I mean, again, He's done a lot of stuff like from serious roles.
Oh, yeah,
to
he's got
goofy
range, yeah.
roles, To
And like I said, I'm glad you brought up the
horror
Zodiac
kind
because
of-
I forgot about
Yeah,
that. I think
Zodiac.
Robert Downey's in that as well.
He was.
He
He was.
is.
He was even in October Sky.
And Ruffalo, right?
Yeah, whoa.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, I was like, I've never seen Ruffalo in anything. And I'm like, I completely forgot Zodiac was dark. Zodiac was really dark.
Yeah, he did Source Code, which was, that was a weird one, but it's kind of like a CIA spy one. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you good, you good.
And but I mean, he's got range for sure. But is he Patrick Swayze? No, he's not Patrick Swayze. But I still think he can do something interesting with the film. I think that he has the range
Oh, for
to
sure.
play the character. And I think people have to go in saying, okay, this is not going to be Patrick Swayze's Roadhouse. This is going to be Jake Gyllenhaal's Roadhouse. And it's going to be...
He's making it his own.
Yeah, it's
And
going
the
to be
thing
different.
that you brought up, I'm gonna keep bringing it back up. Like you're saying, yeah, he might not play the role as Patrick Swayze did, but like you said, the elements are '80s tropes. Those
Right.
aren't that hard to copy. You know what I
Right.
mean? So especially when it's not an '80s movie that has so much depth, like
Right.
it's kind of
Oh,
hard
there was
to.
no depth in that movie
Right.
at all.
Yeah, it's not like he's remaking Scarface. Like it's
Yeah.
different. Like you can't really redo that the
Yeah.
way that was done in 1980. Believe it was 83 when Scarface came out. But I get exactly what you're saying. Don't go in there expecting it to be Patrick Swayze. It's Jake Gyllenhaal, so respect it as such.
Right.
Right? Because it's a remake.
Right.
Kage, you want to take us out on this episode?
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we are bringing to the table today. We talked about Imaginary, Kung Fu Panda, and we talked about the upcoming Roadhouse movie. Are you guys going to see it? Amazon Prime?
If I get Prime, I will. I don't have Prime right now.
I
but I
got-
could always
have
get
Prime,
it.
so
I
I'll
got
watch it.
Prime. I
Check it
saw
out.
the trailer. I'm interested.
And you said the 89 version is on there as well.
yes.
All right.
So that must be where I watched it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is an example of cross
Cross-marketing, yep.
So Amazon Prime, you need to get the old the Ghostbusters Afterlife movie on there. That'd
Somebody.
be really helpful. Part 2 is coming out this Friday. I need to see that. Make it easy on me, please. But all right, guys, that's a wrap. We will see you guys next time. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you're thinking. Are you looking forward to Roadhouse? Have you seen Kung Fu Panda by the time you're hearing this? Let us know your thoughts. So I'm your host, Kage,
Neff.
And Buttons.
and we are signing off. Be safe. We'll see you soon. Bye.